out whether you're for me or Trump, and you ain't black.
An assessment in with parks and beaches already crowded. President Trump demands governors to reopen houses of worship. And we'll take you up north to Alaska to see what life is like in the first state that's fully reopened today. The plane crash into a packed neighborhood, killing dozens overseas. The miraculous reports of survivors tonight. We continue our network-wide series, A Nation Divided. Tonight, an up-close look at food insecurity and the cycle of poverty in one Chicago community, one of the many marginalized neighborhoods in desperate need, and the anonymous people jumping in to help. And staying safe this Memorial Day. Expert advice on social distancing in the summer and how to set up quarantines with your friends and family. Good evening, everyone. I'm Lindsay Davis. Thanks so much for streaming with us. Even as summer unofficially begins and restrictions begin to relax, apparently many Americans are not ready to return to full swing this Memorial Day weekend. A new survey from the Associated Press finds the majority of the country remains unlikely to venture out to bars, restaurants, theaters, or gyms in the coming weeks. In parks from San Francisco to Brooklyn, circles have been marked to help keep those people who are heading outdoors properly spaced from each other. This comes as New York's governor says that wearing masks are the difference between life and death. Gio Benitez leads us off with the latest developments in America's fight against the virus.
Tonight, a Memorial Day weekend like no other as all 50 states relax restrictions and the nation's coronavirus death toll crosses 95,000. In New York, a tragic start to the holiday in Rockaway Beach. One man dead, pulled from the water. Swimming is banned in all New York City beaches due to the pandemic.
As you can see on the beach here, the flags are up. There are no lifeguards. The beaches remain closed.
And you can see those two red flags. They mean no swimming. Walking on the beach is allowed. The NYPD on patrol urging people to keep a safe distance.
If you just want to take in the simple beauty of the beach, it's there for you, but with a lot of good watchful eyes from the Parks Department and the Police Department.
Some beaches in the state will keep gates open until capacity reaches 50%, but concession stands won't be open to avoid lines.
We expect people to be getting out, going to parks, beaches, etc. We understand that, but we have to remain vigilant at the same time.
Thousands along the East Coast hitting the beaches, adapting to the strange new normal. In Massachusetts today, many wearing masks in the sand. It's required when distancing is not possible.
I'm so happy. I love it. I'm so happy I'm out of the house.
This woman dipping her toes in the water while wearing a mask in Virginia Beach today. In New Jersey at Point Pleasant Beach, officials saying it can hold about 197 groups in roughly 18 square foot areas. The mayor warning people to follow the rules.
If they don't, we'll ask them politely to make sure that they adhere to it, and if they don't do it after, then we'll ask them politely to leave.
In South Florida, Miami-Dade County and the city of Miami Beach voting to open beaches and hotels on June 1st. Florida's governor lifting all restrictions on summer camps and children's sports.
I think our kids have been out of organized activities for a couple months now, and I think that we need to have a pathway to get it back.
In Illinois, one of the country's hotspots, the federal government went to the courts to challenge the extension of the governor's restrictions. California beaches will be open with some new additions, including access to the bike paths and more parking lot access. These giant circles painted in several parks in San Francisco designed to promote social distancing. Many national parks also easing restrictions, the south rim of the Grand Canyon opening with limited access today. The nation's leading infectious disease expert, Dr. Anthony Fauci, looking forward to getting outside.
I plan to go out for nice walks and hikes over Memorial Day, and I'm going to do it with care, with a mask on.
And our Gio Benitez joins us now from Rockaway Beach here in New York City, where beaches are supposed to be closed for swimming, but it doesn't seem like that's keeping people away, is it, Gio?
No, we have seen people out here, Lindsay, in the water. In fact, we have one person who lost his life in the water today. So a tragic situation here. In New York City right now, lifeguards are not on duty, but they are training to be ready for when these beaches open. In parts of the Jersey Shore, lifeguards are going to be equipped with masks, gloves, and gowns. And in California, if you're not in the water, you must be wearing a mask. Lindsay?
Gio Benitez, thanks so much for that beach protocol. And turning now to the first state to fully reopen, Alaska. it's been the least affected by the virus, and so people are allowed to pretty much go about life just as it was before the pandemic hit. But there are some exceptions. Our Kana Whitworth is there and has this report.
In Alaska, the governor has opened up the state, moving into phases 3 and 4 simultaneously. That means businesses across the last frontier can open at 100% capacity. So restaurants, salons, retail stores, even gyms. And some owners I spoke with say it couldn't happen soon enough.
I think it's a physical person-to-person thing.
Yeah, like being able to see them work out together.
Absolutely. I've not been able to do this.
How good does that feel?
Oh, it's fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. I feel like a personal trainer again. I don't feel like a business owner trying desperately to pay the bills.
With only 10 deaths, Alaska has seen far fewer cases than any other state. Business owners who have been shut down for months say they've earned the right to open back up. In Anchorage, the most populated city in the state, the mayor is taking it slow.
There's no back to normal,
Yeah.
and there's no the way things were before. There's things are going to be different, and we ought to know that, and we ought to prepare for that.
He says they will move into phase 3 on Monday and hopes that the businesses that typically rely on tourism can survive. Nearly 40% saying they're not sure they'll be able to open back up. And here in nearby Wasilla, where some people drive for 3 hours one way just to do their grocery shopping, they can now do that without any restrictions. But state and local leaders warn if they see a rise in case numbers, some restrictions might have to go back into place.
My worst nightmare is we have to go backwards. If I had to go from phase 3, 4 back down to phase 1, how do you do that? I mean, a lot of people have been waiting for this to happen, and then they say, oh, you know, the numbers are too high, you need to go back home. That scares me. You know, how do we control that? You know, you already let everybody out. How do you catch them and put them back in?
And now that things are up and running here, the big question is, will people come back? Kana Whitworth, ABC News Live, Wasilla, Alaska.
Our thanks to Kana for that. And now to Washington. Today, President Trump called on leaders to reopen houses of worship despite the pandemic, calling them essential. He also threatened to override governors who refused to listen to that call. But as ABC's Jonathan Karl reports, that's something that he may not actually be able to do.
President Trump today declared it is time for houses of worship to reopen, demanding governors allow churches, synagogues, and mosques to hold in-person services.
The governors need to do the right thing and allow these very important, essential places of faith to open right now, for this weekend.
The president insisted he will act if the governors don't.
If they don't do it, I will override the governors.
But the president walked out without answering questions or saying what authority he has on a decision that belongs to local leaders, not the federal government. And just after the president declared he wants churches open this weekend, Dr. Birx of his coronavirus task force said in some areas, those in higher risk categories may have to wait before going to services.
Maybe they can't go this week if there's high number of COVID cases. Maybe they wait another week. But there is a way to social distance like you are here in places of worship.
The issue has been divisive. In Holly Springs, Mississippi, First Pentecostal Church was burned to the ground this week. The church had sued the city to lift restrictions on church services. Graffiti in the parking lot read, "Bet you stay home now, you hypocrites."
Jonathan Karl joins us now with more. John, does the president have the authority to make state and local officials reopen houses of worship?
Lindsay, these are decisions that are made by local leaders, not the federal government. That said, the Justice Department has weighed in on several lawsuits, including one just today in Illinois, lawsuits from private individuals or entities that are suing local authorities, state authorities to lift restrictions. But that's mostly just weighing in, saying they support those efforts. They don't really have the authority here. These are local and state decisions.
And the CDC also offered new guidance for faith leaders. What are the highlights?
A lot of guidelines on how to reopen safely, some quite familiar, saying maintain social distancing, limit the number of people at services, suggesting the wearing of face coverings, having services outside when possible. They also, Lindsay, suggest limits on singing by choirs and singing by congregants, noting, and this is a direct quote from the CDC guidelines, the act of singing may contribute to the transmission of COVID-19, possibly through aerosols. So services starting, but they're saying hold back on the singing, at least for now.
All right, not as much praise in song. Okay, Jonathan Karl from the White House, thanks so much.
Thanks, Lindsay.
Next to the race for 2020 presumptive Democratic nominee Joe Biden. He is now apologizing tonight after what he said about black voters. Mary Bruce has that story.
Tonight, Joe Biden is doing damage control after he sparked outrage with this message for black voters.
If you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, and you ain't black.
It don't have nothing to do with Trump. It has to do with the fact I want something for my community. I would love to see.
Take a look at my record, man.
The reaction swift and furious. This from the Senate's only black Republican.
That is the most arrogant, condescending comment I've heard in a very long time. 1.3 million African Americans voted for Trump. He's saying to 1.3 million African Americans that you're not black?
The Trump campaign piled on, saying Biden truly believes that he, a 77-year-old white man, should dictate how black people should behave. Biden today doing cleanup.
The bottom line of all this is perhaps I was much too cavalier. I know that the comments have come off like I was taking the African American vote for granted, but nothing could be further from the truth. And I shouldn't have been such a wise guy.
His campaign notes Trump has a long history of racially charged comments. Sources say Trump has used expletives to describe African nations. He told 4 congresswomen of color to go back to the countries they came from. And he perpetuated the false theory that Barack Obama was not born in America.
And for more reaction now to Biden's comments today, we bring in Republican Senator Tim Scott from South Carolina. Thanks so much for joining us, Senator.
Thank you, Lindsay. It's good to be with you.
So, Senator Scott, you said today that Biden's comments were arrogant and condescending. We heard that just in Mary Bruce's piece. And you also pointed out that more than 1 million voters, black voters, voted for Trump in 2016. Do you think that Biden's words today will move more black voters into the Trump camp for 2020? And how do you think that Trump will fare in general with black voters in November?
Well, I think that's a really important question. Let me say this at the beginning. I remember being a kid in high school with people putting labels on me, whether I was an Oreo or someone who did not quite fit in. I want to say to the young people out there, don't ever let someone, just because they're smarter or more powerful or look wiser than you are, tell you what you can or cannot do. That is the kind of message we don't want to send to our young people, whether they're Republicans or Democrats, whether they're black or white, whether they're rich or poor. You have unlimited potential. As it relates to the African-American vote, will more vote for Republicans and President Trump this year? I think the answer is yes, they will. Does Vice President Biden's comments help? I think they do help sway more African-American voters to think logically about the choices at hand. And what he did was he once again reinforced this narrative that the Democrats are entitled to the black vote. I'm only asking the question why, and I'm happy to put the record that I have produced along with President Trump against the record of Vice President Biden. That would be a great comparison, and frankly, even the comments that I've heard from both individuals, that is something that's worth comparing as well.
Let's do it, Senator. Let's do it. Let's compare. I mean, because today you actually blasted Joe Biden's remarks, and you said that President Trump has done more for black people than any other president. So tell us what Trump has done for black people and give us the record of Joe Biden.
Thank you very much. Let's start with the 1994 crime bill. What Vice President Biden's support of the 1994 crime bill did was lock up more African-American men than any other crime bill in the last 50 years. What the First Step Act, the act that was supported by President Trump, I was a co-sponsor of it as well, we righted the wrongs done by Vice President Biden's support of the 1994 crime bill. We have had thousands of letters from people who have been justly sentenced and released because of the First Step Act. Let's just think about the Opportunity Zones legislation, bringing $75 billion into 8,700 of the poorest, most devastated communities around the country. $75 billion of private sector dollars coming in. Let's talk about the Opportunity Scholarship Fund in Washington, D.C., supported by Dianne Feinstein, Cory Booker, myself, Ron John, bringing in quality education. There is a 25,000 student waiting list for quality education, and these charter schools and opportunity scholarships provide more resources, better education, so these kids can have a better future. Let's think about the Farm Bill. African American farmers, up until this last Farm Bill, were not able, if they had heirs property, to access the Farm Credit Agency to allow them to borrow against that property. For the first time, that is now happening. Let's think of the comments of the head of the United Negro College Fund, who said under this administration, this is the highest level of funding for historically black colleges and universities ever. This is the first time those colleges have had permanent funding in the legislation. Let's think about sickle cell anemia, a disease that is 100%, basically speaking, impacting of African Americans, 100%. My legislation, signed by the president, has ushered in more research and more scrutiny to make sure that we make more progress. Think about the Department of Defense and their partnerships with historically black colleges and universities. The list is long, and I would love to say, let's take these list of accomplishments, compare it to, if you have a list, Lindsay, I'm happy to wait and listen to the list of Biden's accomplishments.
Well, I'm not here to defend on either side, but I will say that words matter, right? And this is a president, critics have said, has a history of racist comments toward black people, from the Central Park Five to discrimination scandals at his properties. He basically launched his political career questioning the birthplace of the first black president. Trump has never apologized for any of that. Biden did essentially apologize today. So why are you willing to give President Trump a pass, but not the former vice president?
Well, actually, Lindsay, I think you and media are the ones giving the vice president the pass. You said essentially apologize. I am now looking for the definition of jest in the dictionary. I can't find it according to the current definition being used by media.
He said perhaps I was much too cavalier. I mean, I think that that's a bit of an apology, right?
Okay, well, Lindsay, let's talk about the definition of cavalier if you want to, or we can do something even better. Let's talk about what happened when President Trump said something that I found racially offensive as it relates to Charlottesville. He called me. I went into the Oval Office. We had a serious conversation about why I found those comments to be offensive. We sat there for over an hour discussing the issues of this nation, the issues of race. And then we came out of that. He said, Tim, at the end of the conversation we had, he says, Tim, help me help those I have offended. That's essentially an apology. And what did we do? We created Opportunity Zones that is now bringing more resources into the poorest communities in this nation. And let's compare that to what Joe Biden has said. Joe Biden said while he was in Iowa that poor kids can be just as smart as white kids. Is that to suggest that every single kid in America that's living in poverty, like the poverty I grew up in, has to be black? Is that suggesting that the high poverty rate in this nation is 100% black? Is that to suggest that folks needing assistance in this nation are all black? I don't know how to read into his comments. I'm going to take him at his word on that comment. I didn't blast him on that one. This one I did come out on. The comments he's made in the past, I didn't come out and talk about those comments. I gave him a pass. I make sure that I am consistent when Republicans say things that I don't appreciate on racial lines. I speak out against it. When Democrats say things I don't appreciate, I speak out against it. What I don't hear from the Democrat leadership today are people speaking out against Vice President Biden's comments. I hear crickets. It's as quiet as a church mouse. That is hypocrisy. It is inconsistent, and it sends the wrong message to the young people of this nation that you have to stay in line or you're not black enough. The Kamala Harris said something today that the comments were painful, that she's heard for too long, too many people telling her how she's supposed to talk, where she's supposed to live. That is the kind of, those are the kind of comments that I respect and appreciate. Where's the rest of the folks coming out, not condemning the vice president, but at least condemning his comments? If we want a more just society, it requires us to call on the carpet those on our side first. And that's exactly what I did with Charlottesville. I did it in Maryland. I did it with AOC. I did it with the squad. I don't see that kind of leadership on the left, and they get a pass. It's like whitewashing what the vice president says because people are so incensed with President Trump that they're willing to let everything go by in order to try to help support Vice President Biden.
Okay, let me ask you this. In 2016, Trump described himself to the Washington Post as the least racist person that you've ever encountered. You know President Trump personally. Would you describe him that way?
Well, I will say this, that there's no doubt that when I take a look, I think I'm the least racist person I've ever met in my entire life, by the way. But the reality of it is this, when I think about all the things I've been able to accomplish with the guy that so many people say is racist or racially offensive, every time I bring a piece of legislation that helps the African American community specifically, including the CARES Act, where we put $1 billion in for HBCUs, where I personally fought for funding minority business development agencies, $10 million so that we could market within the minority communities, more assistance from the Paycheck Protection Program. You know, the president said, absolutely. So here's what I'm suggesting.
But is he the least racist person that you've ever encountered?
It's not Republicans or Democrats that are actually racially offensive. It comes from the American heart. It comes from the global heart. It's not black people or white people or Republicans or Democrats. It's simply that if you have hatred in your heart, it manifests. We should fight against it wherever we find it. And America has come so far in such a short period of time that we got to celebrate that. I'm sorry, Lindsay, I didn't hear your comment.
Well, actually, I want to switch gears now. Move to the coronavirus. Just last question to you. The president delegated you and Secretary Carson to lead a council to support underserved communities impacted by the virus. That was on April 22nd, 28 days ago. What has the council accomplished during that time, and what further action will the administration be taking?
Well, thank you very much. That's a great question. Dr. Francis Collins at NIH has been working on something called the RADx Up project, which provides more testing and more resources in the underserved communities. It's going to be a part of the more significant Shark Tank approach he's taken to finding more treatments and therapies. It's a great project. I spoke with Dr. Jerome Adams, our Surgeon General, just yesterday about the hundreds of millions of dollars that we are have already sent to the federally qualified health centers, thousands around the nation, to make sure that the resources are there. We're increasing the number of free tests. We provided over $100 billion to hospitals and healthcare givers so that when you are uninsured or underinsured, that you have the access not only to the tests, but also to the treatment so that you get what you need in response to that. We've also, I've asked for, and I think we'll see the funding for more telemedicine because, Lindsay, as you know, sometimes if you live in the rural parts of our country, it's hard to find a doctor, it's hard to find a specialist. What we're going to be able to do with the magic of technology is to connect the best doctors with the patients that need it the most. And I'm also encouraging the White House and the administration to push forward on broadband because the issue of connectivity isn't simply a medical issue. It's a healthcare priority. It's actually a learning priority, and frankly, in the future, it will be a requirement for the future of work, the gig economy. And so these are the priorities. I've seen funding for testing. I've seen more funding for telemedicine. I've also seen more funding for my Paycheck Protection Program that I was a part of designing it. And we still have about $100 billion. I asked Secretary Mnuchin to also put more targets on the back of smaller institutions, MSIs, minority-serving institutions.
Senator
so
Scott,
that we get more of those resources. Yes, ma'am.
I apologize for cutting you off and just running short on time. We appreciate you spending the time with us on the show.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much.
And when we come back, the passenger plane that crashed into a crowded neighborhood. The investigation now underway and word of a possible survivor. Plus, the man who recorded this video of the death of Ahmad Armory makes his first appearance in court, where the case goes from here. Minority communities have been hit particularly hard by COVID-19, but thanks to a group of anonymous wealthy black donors, for some, help is on the way.
Powerful stories of our time, anytime. Nightline.
Your mom said, comb your hair. Your dad told you, smarten up. Your dog is judging you right now. And your best friend just called you crazy. We all need someone who'll pull no punches and give it to us straight. Now imagine getting your news like that. No bull, no spin, just give it to me straight. Straightforward news. Straight to the heart of the story. ABC News, straightforward.
The Americans here on the ground and the Iraqis. 18,000 tons. Patatas. Ismail? David.
Over ground zero from Hurricane Michael.
You can see just home after home. David, nice to meet you. This was your view.
My favorite view.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Good morning, sunshine.
Good morning. Good morning. Oh, I'm grateful you woke up this morning.
Good morning, sunshine.
Good morning, sunshine. We've been waiting for you. Say good morning. Good morning, sunshine. America. Say good morning. I want you to wake me up.
Right now, how do you make sense of it all? Now, afternoons on ABC, one place with the good information you need.
We are all in this together, and we're going to get through this together.
Pandemic, what you need to know. Afternoons at 1 Eastern, 12 Central and Pacific on ABC.
And welcome back. Some sad news to report this evening. Hall of Fame NBA coach Jerry Sloan passed away this morning due to complications from Parkinson's disease and dementia. Sloan is best known for his long coaching career in the NBA, leading the Utah Jazz for 23 years, which include back-to-back final appearances against Michael Jordan's Chicago Bulls in 1997 and 1998. Sloan currently has the fourth most wins of any coach in NBA history. He was also a two-time NBA All-Star as a player and coached the Bulls for 3 seasons before joining the Jazz. Sloan was 78 years old. Next, a terrible tragedy in Pakistan. A plane crashed into a neighborhood in the town of Karachi. Nearly 100 people died, but miraculously, word of survivors. ABC's Maggie Rulli has the full story.
Oh my God! Tonight, rescue teams in Pakistan are searching through plane debris and building rubble for victims of the crash. Of the nearly 100 people on board, miraculously, at least 2 people survived, including this man who says that after the crash, he unfastened his seatbelt, saw light, ran, and jumped out of the plane. The pilot declaring an emergency as he tried to land in Karachi after a 90-minute flight.
While proceeding that, sir, we have lost engines.
Issuing a distress call in the final moments.
Mayday, mayday, mayday.
Witnesses on the ground saying they saw the plane try to land 2 or 3 times before crashing into the crowded neighborhood just 2 miles from the airport. The country has been under a strict coronavirus lockdown and only this week resumed domestic flights, setting a maximum limit of 100 passengers per plane. Many people on this flight were trying to make it home in time to celebrate the end of Ramadan with their loved ones.
And Lindsay, the State Department has confirmed that there was a U.S. citizen on board that plane when it crashed, but they say they can't confirm if that person was killed or if they were one of those miraculous survivors. Lindsay?
Thank you, Maggie. Up next, having her day in court behind a surprise guilty plea from Full House actress Lori Loughlin in connection with that Varsity Blues cheating scandal. Plus, it may just be the strangest holiday weekend ever in the age of social distancing. What can you actually do this Memorial Day weekend? We've got some answers. But first, our tweet of the day, tennis legend Billie Jean King paying tribute to Harvey Milk on what would have been his 90th birthday.
In times like these, the news-making events happen here. ABC News.
President Trump meeting face-to-face with one of the world's most brutal dictators, Kim Jong-un.
The president.
You trust him? I do trust him, yeah. I think he trusts me, and I trust him.
Ivanka Trump.
I have to ask you about your emails. Your father had taken Hillary Clinton to task for this.
There just is no equivalency.
So the idea of lock her up doesn't apply to you?
No.
Comey.
How strange is it for you to sit here and compare the president to a mob boss?
Very strange.
Michelle Obama.
What do you wish you could tell your pre-White House self?
Whew. Melania Trump.
Do you think there's still people there that he can't trust?
Yes.
Still working now?
Yes.
Michael Cohen.
So he's still lying?
Yes.
It's a big statement.
And now, in a year with so much on the line, we're right there.
Good evening tonight from Washington, a very busy news night.
America's #1 news source, ABC News, straightforward.
We all need someone who'll pull no punches and give it to us straight. No bull, no spin. Now, imagine getting your news like that. Just give it to me straight. ABC News, straightforward.
Another week in America, a country facing a new test now.
The Wuhan airport, almost no one here.
The last flight out of Rome.
This is the nursing home just outside Seattle. Dozens of people were just rushed off this cruise ship.
This is ground zero. It is shut down.
Another ambulance just pulled out.
Now they're headed to the hospital.
Time is of the essence.
You can see the ship behind me.
This is the first time tests have been done here.
Morning, afternoon, evening, late night, 24/7. ABC News, there for you.
What's the most innovative daily news podcast out there to listen to every day? Well, the Edward R. Murrow Awards say it's Start Here, the daily news podcast from ABC News. Even the New York Times calls us a top news podcast worth listening to. Start Here, free on Apple Podcasts.
Welcome back, everybody. As we prepare to head into the holiday weekend, some Americans are cautiously hoping to venture out after so many weeks at home. So we take a look at how states are beginning to reopen by the numbers. All 50 states have begun to ease lockdown restrictions, but what that looks like varies widely across the country. 33 states are allowing bars and restaurants to reopen for dine-in service with certain restrictions. 29 states are also allowing gyms to open with restrictions. For some, that means outdoor fitness classes only. And in 11 states, including New York and California, the governors have ordered some parts of their state to open before others. President Trump today called houses of worship essential service and urged all states to reopen them immediately. 29 states currently allow them to operate with various restrictions. And finally, as of today, one state, Alaska, has fully reopened. And we still have a lot to get to here on ABC News Prime. Stepping up to the plate, how a group of anonymous wealthy donors decided to try and stop the food insecurity crisis. It's our series, Divided America, and tips on how to enjoy Memorial Day safely. But first, here are some of the trending stories on abcnews.com.
Seeing right now, this is part of the eye wall.
This procession of migrants goes back 2 miles.
There is going to be catastrophic damage.
This fire has made a run. You can see those flames shooting up into the sky.
We are on the jam-packed red carpet.
To the right, guys. So this is the 4th weekend of protest.
Watch ABC News on location for Facebook Watch.
What's the most innovative daily news podcast out there to listen to every day? Well, the Edward R. Murrow Awards say it's Start Here, the daily news podcast from ABC News. Even the New York Times calls us a top news podcast worth listening to. So if you like getting behind the biggest news stories of the day, inside all the details, the backstory, and what will happen next, then listen to Start Here, the daily news podcast from ABC News. It's like no other news podcast out there. Even the critics agree. Listen free on Apple Podcasts.
This is what being live is all about. This is ABC News Live, the 24/7 streaming news source from ABC News. Breaking news, live events, streaming nonstop. Original breakthrough storytelling from ABC News, National Geographic, ESPN, and it's all designed differently for you to stream straight to any screen whenever you want.
ABC News Live.
Streaming everywhere, right to you. ABC News Live. It's that easy to go there.
Americans here on the ground and the Iraqi 18,000 tons. Patatas. Ismail? David.
For Ground Zero from Hurricane Michael.
You can see just home after home. David, nice to meet you. This was your view.
My favorite view.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
President Trump speaking to reporters on reopening houses of worship.
I call upon governors to allow our churches and places of worship to open right now.
As the nation reopens, it's going to stay open.
And we're going to put out the fires. We're not going to close the country. We're going to put out the fires.
Starting today, Texas is expanding to the next phase. Restaurants can serve at 50% of capacity. In New Jersey and New York, some beaches will open, but New York City is still under stay-at-home measures. Mayor Bill de Blasio says there will be no group celebrations or other events. New York beaches and boardwalks will be open for walking and other physical activities.
But while the country tries to return to some sense of normalcy, the New York Times reporting cases are increasing in 7 states.
A study published in the journal Lancet found no benefit of the drug hydroxychloroquine on COVID-19 patients.
They reviewed nearly 15,000 people given the drugs hydroxychloroquine or chloroquine. The coronavirus patients receiving the treatments were found to be at a much higher risk of death. Trump has repeatedly touted hydroxychloroquine, even claiming he's been taking it along with zinc after consulting his White House physician.
I've taken it, I think, just about 2 weeks. I think it's another day. And I'm still here.
Meanwhile, news today that the Department of Veterans Affairs has administered hydroxychloroquine to 1,300 veterans who tested positive for coronavirus.
Why the heck is the Veterans Administration using our veterans who are so important, who have risked their lives for us, in a test that could be really harmful to them?
All this as we start Memorial Day weekend.
Many Americans are expected to mark it in a much smaller way. A U.S. Travel Association survey last month found only 14% of travelers feel safe taking a domestic flight. 17% feel safe at a hotel or resort. Gas prices have hit their lowest levels for a Memorial Day weekend in over 2 decades. In some places, as low as $1.50 a gallon.
A Massachusetts boy who dreams of becoming an astronaut got a birthday surprise that was literally out of this world. 9-year-old Lucas St. Ange is also marking 4 years since he had a 5-organ transplant after he was treated to a parade of well-wishers.
International Space Station. This is the International Space Station. Chris Cassidy calling us. Is this Heather?
It is. How are you?
He got a phone call from an astronaut on the International Space Station.
Happy birthday, my friend.
Thank you.
And now for our network-wide series, A Nation Divided, a focus on existing racial and socioeconomic divides often magnified by this pandemic. Tonight, we want to take you to the community many are calling ground zero for COVID-19 in Chicago. Residents here have dealt with issues like food insecurity for years. But tonight, an anonymous network of Black donors are stepping up to help their own. And their donations are changing lives in communities across the country. Our Deborah Roberts reports.
Jackie Gordon walks the same Chicago track every day, circle after circle, alone.
So much happens to us that nothing really surprises you anymore.
Alone and neglected is how many in this community have felt for years, stuck in a circle of poverty that existed long before this pandemic.
In this area, I think that we don't have a lot of the resources that we need to have, whether it's dealing with health, whether it's dealing with food, or dealing with just everyday things that people, necessities that we have to have.
Nikia Love has lived in Chicago's Auburn Gresham neighborhood her entire life. In the 40s, her grandparents helped integrate the block, a community now 96% Black.
Everyone is a close knit because we've all just been here for so long.
Auburn Gresham saw the first COVID-19 death in the state, but this certainly isn't the first time it has dealt with adversity. What was life like in Auburn Gresham even before COVID?
Well, prior to, there was still economic issues. Businesses were closing. Two of the main businesses, one was a grocery store, Save-A-Lot. They shut down in January. So that was walking distance for a lot of residents.
If you look at the surrounding area, you will see there's no grocery stores. The only type of grocery store that we do have is considered Walgreens.
Unemployment here nearly 30%, and that's before the 1 in 4 Americans who lost a job in the pandemic. What is it like being furloughed and not being at work at this moment?
It is challenging. So the first thing that went into my mind was, how am I getting ready to feed my child every day, all day?
Nakia worries about her 12-year-old daughter. She is not alone.
I would say right now there is a very strong need for food.
Food insecurity on the rise, not just in Chicago, but cities and states around the country.
I'm scared, to be quite honest with you.
Shardea Fuqua lives in Detroit with her 1-year-old daughter and 2-year-old son.
Can you point to a letter, Chloe? Wow.
Since the pandemic began, according to the Brookings Institute, 17% of moms with children 12 and under say their kids are not eating enough because they can't afford food. That's a 460% jump from 2018.
In my community in Detroit urban areas, it's not a lot of opportunities to have really healthy food. I'm going to be really clear and honest with you. I live in Highland Park, Michigan. They do sell foods that are not maybe expired and high-priced foods.
For a lot of people, having the kids at home, it's like, well, we've got to be more creative. We've got to make sure they're not bored. Those are the biggest concerns, but in your community, the concerns are much greater than that.
Absolutely, the concerns are greater. I can't think about creative activities because I'm thinking about, I'm about to get evicted. I know I need to feed you today.
It's taken a virtual village to help parents like Shardea. She was among 200 families offered a $500 grant by Focus Hope, a Detroit charity helping with essentials and missed bills.
That money really supported me with bills.
Money that likely wouldn't have arrived if not for an anonymous network of Black donors with means.
What we really understand is that as a community, we have to take care of ourselves. We can't rely on anyone else to take care of ourselves.
Scott Mills, president of BET, realized how the virus was hitting communities of color early on and sprung into action.
While the country was focused on how this was going to impact the country at large, we very specifically focused on, holy cow, the effect of this on the African American community is going to be uniquely devastating because it's going to compound these pre-existing conditions.
Pre-existing conditions like food insecurity. And while the daily struggle among African Americans is real, there are those in the top tier, CEOs, business executives, others who want to give back. An Urban Institute study found of any race, Black families contributed the largest proportion of their wealth to charities.
We started with the goal of raising $5 to $10 million, recognizing that the economic environment was so challenging. With the support of this group, we've secured over $17 million of commitments of support. And that it was in a matter of weeks. It was extraordinary.
$17 million dispatched all across the country, from Los Angeles to New Orleans to the Greater Auburn Development Corporation in Chicago. What if the Greater Auburn Gresham Development Corporation wasn't helping right now? What would life be like during this pandemic?
I couldn't tell you. I could not tell you, because when I say to you, my first thought was, how can I feed my child? My second thought was, how am I getting ready to pay my rent?
A charity rapidly changing how it operates. Just last week, starting weekly food pantries. And Monday, more than 2 months after the first COVID death, the organization opening its first community testing site.
You'll have your results within 24 to 48 hours, all right?
Results from its leaders, what the community has been hoping for decades.
Where do we go from here? Because as soon as it ends, we're still in the same predicament.
A circle of poverty that those who are able are desperately trying to break.
If there's something positive that we can extract from this, it is this call to arms to address these structural deficiencies and these structural barriers that are impacting our community, because something will happen after COVID. This is not the end. And we really have to make sure that our community is better positioned to prosper in good times and to not suffer disproportionately in difficult times.
Would it surprise you to know that there are a lot of people of color who are privileged, who have contributed to make sure a fund like this is there for people in your neighborhood?
No. I think we are very intelligent people. I think we are a very educated ethnic group. I'm grateful to hear that, to know that. It actually encourages me even more to keep going. And maybe one day I will be on the other side helping the next person, giving back to my community.
Deborah Roberts, ABC News.
Our thanks to Deb for that report. And we turn now to the new arrest in the Ahmad Armory case. The man who filmed that harrowing video of Ahmad being stopped and then fatally shot in Georgia, now charged with felony murder and attempted false imprisonment. William Roddy Bryan appeared in court today without entering a plea. He and his attorney have said that he was just a witness and not a perpetrator to Ahmad's killing. Mr. Bryan has committed no crime, bears no criminal responsibility from our perspective. It feels like the only thing that has changed since February 23rd. Oh, I think that this is actually him. I don't know. Do we have sound from his attorney?
But we will not rush to judgment.
That was part of his statement that I was reading there before. But prosecutors today had a different take. Let's take a listen.
I can tell you that if we believed he was a witness, we wouldn't have arrested him. You know, so there's probable cause, and we're comfortable with that.
The two men seen in the video, Gregory and Travis McMichael, have both been charged with murder. Their lawyers have said that there is much more to this case than the public realizes and that their clients are innocent. And now to another criminal case. Actress Lori Loughlin and her husband, Massimo Giannulli, formally pleaded guilty today in the college admissions scandal via a teleconference before a Massachusetts judge. After reaching a plea agreement, the government agreed that she should serve 2 months behind bars, her husband 5 months. The couple will be sentenced in late August. As we all head into Memorial Day weekend and head outside, social distancing, especially for families, may prove challenging, but it can be done. Our Becky Worley sought advice from an expert who's also a mom, and she shares some of her recommendations.
The sound of friends or kids gathering in the backyard is either music to your ears right now or scary, or both.
Oh, so close.
Dr. Colleen Kraft, an infectious disease physician and microbiologist at Emory University Hospital in Atlanta, where she was on the front lines for the fight against Ebola, and now COVID-19, says it's tricky.
I think some of the scenes that I've seen only on television of bars and very busy restaurants, those make me anxious. I get to be witness to people being extremely sick from this virus, so it's serious.
But simultaneously, she says she understands the need for people, specifically kids, to see each other in person.
I'm an extrovert, so I think it's really important. But I've also, everybody is weathering the storm differently.
Enter what's being called the quarantine, or
coronavirus circle.
A limited group of healthy people Dr. Kraft says her family sees in person while practicing social distancing.
Who you feel comfortable about having your family and children around, because they share sort of the same prevention tactics.
Tactics like minimal trips outside the house, and even those being limited to places like the grocery store while wearing a mask. Dr. Kraft has 3 kids, 9, 11, and 13. Just a few days ago, she allowed them to see friends outside, playing games without physical contact. And it's not just kids.
We have a very small circle of people that we interact with.
2 other couples came over to sit outside and talk, the 6-foot hangout.
Even when interacting with them, we don't spend a lot of time, it's always outside and it's at a distance.
That distance, 6 feet or more, and that's why she says they don't wear masks. Unless you think she's throwing caution to the wind, Dr. Kraft says it's literally wind or air circulation that disperses any potential infectious particles, making the risk lower. All indicators of what socializing may look like nationwide, hopefully soon.
Most states are now easing lockdown restrictions to try to boost declining economies. We've seen businesses from restaurants to barbershops start to reopen with new safety measures in place. The Trump administration included gyms in the proposed first wave of reopening the economy. People are certainly eager to get back to their regular fitness routines. But how are gym owners keeping the spaces safe for customers? Adam Zaitsev, the CEO of Gold's Gym, is here now for more on how locations around the country are reopening. Adam, thanks so much for joining us.
No, thanks for having me.
So you've said that you're taking a phased approach to reopening locations in states where that's allowed. What does that phased opening look like?
Yeah, so the first phase, which for us is in about 5 or 6 states right now, includes basically the cardio areas, the strength areas, the key large areas that were easy enough for us to space out, make sure we have the proper physical distancing, make sure we have the proper cleaning measures, and we're the high use areas of the gym that we knew members would want to be back in. So that's really part of phase 1.
Gyms are, of course, filled with shared equipment from weights to machines to the lockers. People are sweating all over the place quite often. What are you doing to keep those surfaces clean? Because quite often gyms rely on people to do it, and I can't imagine that we can count on that at this point.
Yeah, no, we've changed our entire experience inside of our Gold's Gym. So we have cleaning that happens, of course, overnight, which we'll talk about as well. And we've got people that are walking around all day. They've got cleaning machines in terms of the sprays, the bottles, the wipes. And we're walking around just cleaning up after members. Members are doing it themselves as well, but we have roamers around our club cleaning, wiping machines down. We're taking an intermission every day at 1 o'clock local time so that we can actually have people stop checking into the club and we can actually do a full clean of the club with our team. And then, of course, overnight, we're having a detailed cleaning, including electrostatic spray, which will kill and sanitize any germs that are left.
In addition to that, is there anything that you would add to people who are feeling hesitant, like they want to go back to the gym, but they're just not sure if it's safe?
You know, I think for me, it's a come on in. You know, you can see that our teams have their masks on, their gloves. You can see cleaning everywhere. You can smell the cleaning in the air in terms of the medical grade cleaning solutions that we use. And just walk around for a few minutes and get comfortable and see your fellow gym members in there doing the workouts, cleaning up after themselves. And I think you'll get comfortable and see that it's a great place to get some stress out, get a good exercise in, and really help your body stay healthy.
And is mask wearing encouraged or mandatory?
So for our team members at Gold's Gym, we're going to require masks and gloves, so we do now. It is mandatory in our gyms if your states make it that way, right? So depending on where your gym is, if they say wear a mask, we will do so. Otherwise, we do highly encourage it, and we do see a lot of our members wearing them.
While gyms were closed, people embraced and have been embracing at-home workouts, whether it's running outside or streaming an online class. Are you concerned at all that people may not come back in the regular big crowds to their gym memberships?
Yeah, Lindsay, that's a great question. We did a survey right before we reopened, and almost 86% of our members that we surveyed said they would be back early on, and they're excited to get back in the gym. And at Gold's Gym, you know, we have a bunch of digital fitness solutions that we've had for a number of years. So our members have been using those solutions at home and our Gold's Amp product, and they've been working out. So now they can pair that with getting back in the gym a few days a week. And we're really seeing some pretty decent traffic so far. It's down compared to last year at this time, but it's much better than we thought.
86% sounds like people are convinced that it's safe. Curious if you could kind of pull out your crystal ball for us. What do you think that fitness looks like maybe a year, 5 years from now, perhaps because of changes that people make because of this pandemic?
Yeah, you know, I think this pandemic has accelerated the hybridization of fitness. And what do I mean? I mean that people were working out in gyms and maybe doing a little bit of workout out at home or running, but really this has accelerated the hybridization of the virtual and the physical. So people will still go to their gyms a couple days a week, and those won't be replaced. You can't replace the equipment, the experience, the classes, the camaraderie. People will use, you know, physical and virtual now. They'll do a lot more virtual workouts at home, and they'll find that perfect hybridization that works well because they had to learn very quickly during this pandemic how to do it, and that's the future of fitness moving forward in our minds.
Really helpful and insightful information. We thank you so much for your time, Adam Zaitsev. And when we come back, putting a smile on your face ahead of this holiday weekend, the good news we all so desperately need coming up.
Right now,
How do you make sense of it all? Now, afternoons on ABC, one place with the good information you need.
We are all in this together, and we're going to get through this together.
Pandemic, what you need to know. Afternoons at 1 Eastern, 12 Central and Pacific on ABC. Friday nights, 9, 8 Central. True crime, cinematic, real-life drama, stunning, the unthinkable. Follow the clues. The Hunt, True Crime, 2020. Friday nights, 9, 8 Central on ABC.
The world may feel out of your control, but your happiness doesn't have to be. Learn the secrets to happiness. Listen to the 10% Happier podcast, free on Apple Podcasts.
ABC News, honored winner of 4 Edward R. Murrow Awards, including the most prestigious honor, Overall Excellence in Television. ABC News, America's #1 news choice.
This is what being live is all about. This is ABC News Live, the 24/7 streaming news source from ABC News. Breaking news, live events, streaming nonstop. Original breakthrough storytelling from ABC News, National Geographic, ESPN, and it's all designed differently for you to stream straight to any screen whenever you want.
ABC News Live.
Streaming everywhere, right to you. ABC News Live. It's that easy to go there.
Good morning, sunshine. Good morning. Good morning. Oh, I'm grateful you woke up this morning.
Good morning, sunshine.
Good morning, sunshine. We've been waiting for you. Say good morning. Good morning, sunshine. America. Say good morning. I want you to wake me up.
ABC News, America's #1 news source. Straightforward news, straight to the heart of the story. ABC News, straightforward.
Tomorrow marks the end of the holy month of Ramadan, where for 30 days, America's roughly 4 million Muslims fasted and prayed, but without the usual level of physical community, of course, due to the pandemic. So at sundown tomorrow, many will be taking part in virtual celebrations rather than the large gatherings that are customary. Finally, this hour, some simple reminders to always find time to make new friends and never forget to dance. Our James Longman is on the road and has a look at some of the brighter spots during this pandemic.
Hi everyone, welcome to another Feel Good News on the road. I'm actually in Frankfurt, Germany, because we're transiting back from Greece. I've been to a few countries now, and I'm pleased to report that travel is difficult but doable. People are acclimatizing to their new reality. It was lovely to be in Greece. That country really feels like it's coming back almost entirely to normal. And of course, there are going to be big economic challenges ahead, but it was really brilliant to see a country eking back to life. First up tonight, after the annual Preakness Stakes horse race was postponed in Baltimore because of coronavirus, this senior living community in Bel Air, Maryland, decided to recreate the event.
The next jockey will be George, riding the Flaming Flamingo.
We put together this opportunity for them to all get out, to be with each other, to re-get that vibrancy that we haven't been able to do in the interest of keeping everyone safe.
That looks like a lot of fun. And next up tonight, this is a wonderful project thought up by recent grad Laura Preble from Wellesley College. It's a project that links up older alums with more recent graduates and gets them to send letters to one another during the coronavirus pandemic, and thousands of letters have already been sent.
And I think that's one of my favorite parts of this project, like seeing the new friendships come out of writing these letters between generations of the college who otherwise may not have had the opportunity to connect with one another.
And check this out, we were there when Carrington O'Brien, class of 2015, met for the first time via Zoom Mary Lou Purdy, class of 1945, and they had been exchanging letters.
Oh, you're wearing Wellesley blue. Is that why you both ladies, you're both wearing blue?
Yes.
That's so nice.
Gotta wear Wellesley.
I wish I'd known. I would have worn blue. I'm not. Sorry. What distinguishes a Wellesley woman? What makes you different?
Well, I think you have a sisterhood that you don't have at some other colleges, that you are maybe more willing to befriend them and do things for them.
the sisterhood, like Mary Lou said, but also just have these moments of connection, which are so important during a time like this. It's definitely been helpful to me to feel like I'm connected. I'm part of something bigger that will be there after all of this is over. It's a lifelong connection, and this is the exact type of thing that proves it.
We'll try to get in touch because I appreciate her getting in touch with me.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so lovely to meet you. And
That was super touching. And check out this incredible dance from this young ballerina in Queensland, Australia. She won an online dance competition for her dance with a trash can. She took the challenge from the Facebook group Australia Performs, which aims to provide a creative outlet to young dancers who are unable to attend classes because of the COVID-19 pandemic. That was very cool. A lot of people being very, very creative during this coronavirus crisis. That's it from us tonight. Stay safe, everyone, and be good to each other.
Our thanks to James. And before we go, as many of us begin to kick off our Memorial Day weekend plans, a reminder of those we've lost. The Old Guard planting flags in front of the graves at the Arlington National Cemetery in Virginia. A sobering reminder that indeed freedom comes at a cost. Our deepest gratitude to our fallen heroes and their families. We salute you. And that is our show for this hour. Be sure to stay tuned to ABC News Live for more context and analysis of the day's top stories. I'm Lindsay Davis. Thanks so much for streaming with us, and have a great weekend.
What you need to know right now, America marking a milestone memorial.